Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the YouTube audiobook series for The Forbidden Truth, written by Abby Matthias. I am Abby Davis, and today I am introducing Chapter 2. If you missed Chapter 1, link is in the description below. And if you are all caught up and ready to go, we will continue on with Chapter 2, Dreadful Misdirection.
Are you sure you don't want me to drive home? I can most certainly handle it if you want. I asked, trying to help Abby. I knew she was a whole mixture of emotions. I was just glad she had her touching moment with Damien to end the night.
I'm fine, Darius. Thanks for offering, though. I can handle it.
So, we drove off and sat in silence for a while. During that time, I reflected upon everything that happened tonight. The first matter that came to mind was the fact Abby said my name out loud. I could tell she realized her mistake as soon as she said my name. But what was even stranger was Damien's reaction. That name had to have some significance in order for him to act like that, right? I mean, he looked like a deer in headlights when that was brought up. However, he was practically begging her to keep the name after she said she could change it. The response from him confused me somehow. But that wasn't the worst part of the night. My next reflection was the pirate guy, Michael Floretta. I was only trying to hear what Damien was saying to Abby. I didn't know why she ran off, and I tapped into her hearing so I could understand what was going on. I was still on the dance floor, though, swaying back and forth, trying to act natural. I didn't want to leave my spot. I didn't know anybody there, and wanted to stay in sight for Abby. But that predator of a man came along and started talking to me, telling me how curvy I was and how he wanted to get me in the sheets. I kept refusing him and telling him no, but he wouldn't leave me alone. So I figured the smartest thing for me to do was walk away and go somewhere else. That's when he grabbed my arm and started acting like a dick. All because I said no. But just like it was a scene from a movie, Abby came in and pulled me away from him. She was defending me like I did with her. She even stood in the same stance as me when I protect her from the airhead down below. I wanted to fight my own battle, but she wasn't giving me the chance to. She just kept her arm out to shield me from my opponent. Then, when things were really getting heated, she pushed me back to the crowd as she stepped further into the fighting area. The bad part was that I couldn't even help her with my powers. So I tried to talk to her within her head to do what I could. However, I don't think she heard anything, though. She was too focused on her enemy. Our enemy. But besides the point, I was relieved to see her dodge his attack and catch him off guard to throw her punch. After everything was over, I wanted to make sure her hand was okay. There were no signs of fractures, tears, or anything really damaging to the hand. I suspected a contusion was going to form upon her fingers, but that was the only injury. Although she was physically alright, I knew emotionally that was a different story. The things Scarlett said were totally uncalled for. Yes, I will admit that Abby punching someone was a surprise and totally unexpected. Even given the circumstances, she had no right saying those things to Abby. Then, trying to justify Michael's actions by saying it was practically my fault because of my sex appeal. So I decided to prove my point publicly. Man, was I glad I did. She looked so embarrassed while Abby got a round of applause for her costume. So not only did I boost Abby's confidence, I also proved how much of a bad friend Scarlett was to everyone. However, I misjudged how violent and jealous she got. And another thing, why was she so upset about her dressing up as a male? If she didn't like how Abby was or acted, then why was she still friends with her? What gave Scarlet the right to just pull off her wig? That scream from Abby didn't come out from just pulling the wig. She must have dug her fingers in deep to get some of her actual hair. She purposely hurt my protector child to try and embarrass her. All of Scarlet's actions were infuriating as she was selfish. Just like my evil creator. That was something I would never forget or let go of. If you mess with my human, you mess with me. And that was that.
Darius, your muscle and fire powers are acting up. You gotta stop thinking about whatever it is you're thinking.
Abby said, interrupting that downward spiral of thoughts. At that moment, I gazed down at myself and saw I was about to rip through another shirt, and my hands were glowing red because of the fire. That would definitely explain why I was feeling so warm. But I decided to listen and start a conversation. Sorry. I guess I just got lost in my thoughts.
It's okay. But if you get like this just thinking, how were you able to control everything when we were at the party?
Well, it's all about distraction. When your mind doesn't have the time to think or focus on something else, the feelings and thoughts can't get in the way.
Can you give me an example of that? I don't quite understand what you mean.
After thinking for a few seconds, I came up with an example that was relatable to her. When Damien came to you as we were leaving, you had no time to react or be mad at Scarlet. Your mindset was focused on Damien and how he was blowing up at your so-called friend. Then, at the car before we left, when he held you close, you felt all your feelings wash away and your brain was thinking about him again. It wasn't until we started driving home that you could truly reflect upon everything that happened, just like me.
Oh, okay. I get it now.
Good. Now please, tell me that you are considering breaking the friendship with Scarlet.
I mean, maybe.
Maybe. Why would you consider being her friend after what she did tonight? She tried humiliating you and made you feel bad about yourself. All she does is judge your personality and what you do. Who needs a friend like her in their life?
I do.
She said solemnly.
You didn't know her before she got her boyfriend. We actually used to be best friends.
Really? I said in utter shock.
Yes. She was a completely different person back in the day. We hung out and had private girl talks often. But sometime back in high school that changed. She started making little comments and discouraging me. I have tried talking to her about it, but she never tells me anything. She sidetracks and switches the topic. So from that point on, our conversations became sour anytime I talked to her about myself.
And that's why you don't hang out with her without Damien around? I asked, searching for answers. She breathed a sigh of unhappiness and willingly answered me back.
Yes. Damien defers the tension between us and tries his best to keep Scarlet in line. Then, when she got a boyfriend, things got worse. She began to rub it in my face and practically bragged about her partner's wealth. She's just obsessed with money and popularity now.
So after these past few years of her doing this to you, why have you been holding onto a friendship that became toxic?
Because I have known her since I was a kid. We met in kindergarten and have been friends since elementary school. I don't want to throw away that friendship after spending so many years making it. I know know she is still in there somewhere. If I could ever get my old friendship back with her, I would be grateful. Yes, what happened tonight was uncalled for and rude of her to do. However, that isn't the worst thing she could have done to me. For you, it's a different story.
Damn right it is. She tried blaming his assault on my sexual appearance. I can't help this is what I was given. I can't control this look.
And I know you can't. But she obviously doesn't see it that way. So with that, this is your chance to retire Darla. I give you permission, and I will never ask you to be her again. Not after what happened tonight.
After hearing that, I really started to think about my choices. This was my chance to get rid of Darla completely. I no longer had to endure the female form unless I took over Abby's body. I didn't really have a problem with that. It was only temporary, and I didn't have guys crawling all over me. The only person that was going to be obsessed with me was her boyfriend. But I wouldn't take those moments away from her. Besides the point, this was my chance to tell her I was done with shapeshifting as Darlaw. But I guess I thought about another factor within my decision-making. Damien was still a good kid and liked having me as a friend. I enjoyed our talks as well. He included me in conversations and genuinely enjoyed our friendship. He treated me like a normal human being, regardless of his lack of knowledge of me. So, with that in mind, I gave her my answer. Well, thank you for your approval. I will not be seeing Scarlet ever again in that form. However, I will shapeshift into Darla only for friend meetups with Damien, and hangout days with you. He doesn't deserve to lose a friend because of Scarlet's misbehavior.
I understand. Thank you, Darius.
Then, for the rest of the ride, we were silent. Abby turned on the Bluetooth on her phone and sang to distract our minds until we got home. Once we did, I didn't start up any other conversation so that she could go to bed. I could tell she was tired and just wanted to drift off to sleep. So, I tucked her in and waited in her computer chair. Time ticked by, but it didn't take her long to go to Dreamland. As for me, though, I was concerned to go there myself. These dreams that I've been having lately seem to be getting more violent and gruesome. Another thing was that Abby's boyfriend was somehow important. However, I didn't know why. Out of many years of being in hell and having these nightmares, why now are they starting to change? It was like, ever since I was deemed a protector demon, these fake realities started evolving. Even the deal-making dreams were expanding and becoming more detailed. However, I couldn't just sleep-deprive myself. Sleep was an important necessity for everyone, including demons. As weird as that may sound, demons need to recharge themselves to take on every aspect that may come their way. So upon those thoughts, I teleported myself down to my house and eventually went to bed. I slept for a couple hours in peace, not really remembering what I dreamt about. Everyone dreams during their sleep. However, it depends on how deep of a dream state we're in that makes us remember them. I think I was pretty uneasy as I slept, for I woke up a little while later. The only thing was that I was sitting in Abby's computer chair again. I seen the carpeted floor and the desk where everything stood was perfectly normal. However, the room itself was black. A slight spotlight shined on her bed, as it was empty and showed the sheets were thrown around. I started to panic and rise from my seat to race to the bed. She was gone. I turned myself around the room and started calling out for her. "Abby, where are you? Answer me!" As I got no response, I started to march myself back to her desk and see if there was anything that could help me find her. All there was available to me was her computer and my Protector Demon book. Despite to figure out what to do, I immediately grabbed the book thinking it might tell me how to track my Protector Child. As I started opening it to a random page, I saw that the pages were tampered with. There was suddenly red ink smeared across the pages, forming words. When I took in that sight, I had a shiver crawl up my spine. For the 3 words that were obstructing the original text read, "You're too late." In reaction, I quickly dropped the book on the desk and started breathing hard. What was I late for? Who was doing this? Why were they doing this? But yet the worst thought that popped in my mind was if I was too late to save my human. As the panic started to really settle in, I heard an echoey laugh sound from behind me. Snapping myself to the culprit, I found myself staring at the very villain I have been confronting for years now. Satan stood with the evilest of smirks I have ever seen. The smile distorted his face and made me feel extremely uneasy, almost to the point where his appearance filled me with fear. Yet I was far from truly telling him that. I worried more about Abby's well-being rather than mine, and I needed to find out what he did. "What are you laughing at?" I shouted. "What the hell did you do with her?" He didn't say a word in response. His eyes just continued to stare at me as I grew furious at his silence. I felt the anger flowing through my veins and slowly started to activate the fire within me. My chest and hands became hot and ready to combust, so I allowed my hands to light. I continued to stare as my hands became engulfed within the flames. However, as the combustion lit the room, I got a glimpse of the walls. There were objects hanging along them, but yet I couldn't make out anything. They just appeared as shadows. Confused as to what was going to be displayed, I combined my hand flames together to form a flaming ball to light the room. However, I instantly regretted my decision when the room became exposed. For dangling and scattered upon the walls were bones, organs, body parts, and blood. Taking in the sight, my stomach started to turn and tie in knots. My breath started to pick up again from the random body rummaged along the purple walls. I had no clue why he would display such a sight to me. What was his point? However, my brain started thinking rapidly once I caught a glimpse of the closest body limb next to me. It was a forearm separated from its upper arm and hand, with fresh blood dripping from each end. I caught a glimpse of a tattoo permanently marked upon it, and my eyes widened from disbelief. The tattoo was the exact memorial marking Abby had on her right arm. Upon the realization, I felt my mind and emotions slip away from me. My body started hyperventilating as my brain unraveled. When did he do this? Why did he do this? He had to have tortured her to the highest degree. He purposely killed her to get to me, and then scattered her remains as his prize. My body started losing control and mumbled from the shock. However, I got a glance of Satan laughing with his back towards me. With my emotions still taking control of me, Arn marched over to him and spun him around. Once he faced me, his face was tan and full of blood. Yet his hands and neck were his normal skin tone. Looking closer, he peeled Abby's face off and placed it upon his. My stomach became agitated and I wanted to throw up. I took a step back and shouted in disbelief. What in the fuck is wrong with you? Why would you do this to her?
To prove my point, you should have taken her body when you had the chance. You made your choice. This is the price you pay for it. Congratulations, Darius.
Just like that, she was gone. I failed. I didn't even have the chance to protect her. Did she call out for me? Or did he prohibit her from doing so? Yet the fact still remained. This was all my fault. Abby was dead because of me. Now I had to deal with it for the rest of my life. I became so overwhelmed with sorrow that I started to scream. Yet after the echoey yell, I was suddenly jolted into Abby's computer chair with just my boxers on. Her curtains were open and the sun was shining brightly. Her walls were the normal purple and her bed was neatly made. However, I was far from being relieved. Was this a true reality? Did I just have the most twisted dream I could ever have? Or was it all real and this is the aftermath? Panicked out of my mind, I stood up from my chair and instantly bolted out the door. Running into the kitchen, I didn't see anyone occupying it. When I turned my head to the living room, no one was in it either. Shaky and panicked, I started to yell. Abby, where are you? Please tell me you're okay. Don't tell me you're really dead. After that, I suddenly heard a door unlock and start to open from behind me. As I turned around, I seen Abby with wet hair and normal clothes on like she was gonna go somewhere. However, she expressed worry as she gazed upon my face.
Hey!
She said, walking towards me.
What's wrong? You're screaming like a madman. I'm right here.
After she stood in front of me, I raised my hands and placed them on her shoulders. I didn't face through them, and I felt the soft fabric of her shirt. To fully make sure everything was okay, I brought my left arm up to face her and touched her smooth cheek. She placed her hand on top of mine and held it there. As all of these emotions kept running through my body, I couldn't help but start to cry. She was alive, and she was all right. All of that was a sick and twisted nightmare, a haunting of my fears and worries, a false version of torture and suffering. That repulsive dream was too real for me to even differentiate the difference between dreamland and reality. These visuals are becoming too much for me to handle. They are breaking me down in ways I haven't encountered in years. However, the most important thing was that Abby was safe. So with such immense relief, I collapsed to my knees and cried as my protector child stayed by my side to give comfort to my restless mind.
This has been Chapter 2, Dreadful Misdirection, from the book The Snake and the Rose. Tune into the next video for Chapter 3. Thank you for listening.